The brightness and the contrast tool is used to adjust the gain, brightness, contrast, gamma, and the saturation of the image. It can also be used to clip the black and white and to pre-divide or post-multiply the image. Alright, so here we have this simple footage and a brightness contrast node. Okay, and it's cloned to more instances of this brightness contrast version. We have this background image as well as this 32-bit float HDR image. So I'll go ahead and preview this more file here and background image here. Okay, and this background image is again using 4 colors, and values are 0.3 gray. Here we have 0.8 for gray, here pure black, and here we have pure white. Okay, 4-corner gradient. Okay, so let's talk about this brightness contrast, and let me preview this one here and this one here. Okay, so at the top we have filtering. We can filter the output based on red, green, blue, and alpha channel. Okay, before that, the order of the control is very important here. Okay, so if you apply gamma, then it's applied before contrast. Gamma is gain is applied before gamma, so it's in order. Okay, first gain will be applied, then gamma, then contrast, then brightness, and then saturation. Okay, so here at the top we have RGBA checkboxes. Okay, and these are used for selective channel filtering. You can unclick that, so now it will be based on red channel only. Now it's red, green, and blue. Alright, as well as alpha if you are having alpha in your image. Okay, and this filter is not same as you find here in common controls, red, green, and blue, and alpha. Okay, so the tool takes these controls into account before it processes this control, but these channel controls here under the common controls tab are applied after the tool is processed. This filtering will be applied after the tool is processed, and this filtering will be applied before the tool is processed. Okay, so at the top we have gain. Okay, this gain slider affects higher values. It affects more higher values more than it affects the lower values. Okay, so the effect of this gain slider, by changing, when we change this gain slider, the effect will be more visible in the mid-range values or the higher values. Okay, and so let's go ahead and crank this up, gain. So as you can see, it's affecting the higher values, the brighter values. It's not affecting the darker values at that much. Okay, and now in Fusion 6.1 you have this little blinking dot here. If you hover your mouse over it, by clicking on this you just reset the slider values. Okay, pretty useful. Okay, and this gain is the multiplier of the value. So if you have a pixel value of say 0.5, sorry, a pixel value of 0.5, then it will be multiplied by this value. So if it is 1.5, then the resulting pixel value will be 0.6. Okay, it's a multiplier of that value. Okay, next we have gamma. Okay, what gamma does is it's used to raise the mid-grays values. Okay, the gamma values. It will not affect the existing black or white levels, but it's just going to affect the mid-grays. So if you crank this up, you see there is no effect here in the black and white values, but where you're having the mid-grays values, this gamma slider will affect these pixels most. Okay, next we have contrast. Contrast is the range, is the difference between the range of dark and light values. Okay, so if we crank up this contrast value, it will push the mid-range towards black. It's pretty visible here. Here we have this mid-range. Let me reset this. Okay, so it will push this mid-range towards black, as you can see, and if you crank this down, it will push it towards white. So this is contrast slider. This brightness value, the value of this brightness slider will apply effect to all the pixels. So while this gain slider is a multiplier, okay, the brightness values are added to each pixel in the image. Okay, so if the pixel value is 0.3 and the slider value is 0.4, so the resulting value will be 0.7. Okay, it's additive, the brightness slider. Okay, next we have saturation. Saturation is used to increase or decrease the amount of saturation in an image. So if you crank this down and if you anchor it at 0, there will be no color in the image and it's all grayscale. If you crank this up, then you will be increasing the grayscale, the saturation value. Okay, next we have this low and high slider here, range slider. It's similar to the auto gain tool we studied earlier. Okay, the high values are multiplied by the inverse of the high value. Okay, so this is high value. If I crank this down to say 0.7, as you can see, it's brightening the image. Okay, so if it is 0.7, then it's again a multiplier, and the pixel values will be multiplied by inverse of this value. Okay, so the pixel value, if the pixel value is if the pixel value is say 0.62, pixel value is 0.62, this slider value is 0.7, so now it will be multiplied by inverse of this value. 1 divided by 0.7 multiplied by this 0.62 will be the new value. Okay, and if we crank this low slider, let me anchor it back at 1. Okay, if we crank this low slider, crank this up, it will push the image towards black. You see, the darker pixels or the gray pixels will move towards or shift towards the dark values. Alright, next, clip black and clip white. These checkboxes are used to clip out the range color values that appears when you process a floating point color depth. Okay, so the out of color range are below black or above white will be clipped off. Normal range is 0 to 1. So if you're having a color range outside of this, I mean darker pixels are are not dark, or the pixels are not within the range 0 to 1, then you can clip that. And it happens when you use float images having float image depth. Okay, and these checkboxes will have no effect on image processed at 8-bit or 16-bit. If you look at the loader tool here, I have this kitchen probe HDR image, and its bit depth is float 32. Okay, so if this clip black and clip white will not affect the image is processed at 8-bit or 16-bit per channel. Okay, because these such images cannot have out of range values. Okay, so let me change the auto gain for this, and contrast, and just preview that. You can see there, if I clip white, there's a very subtle change there. Okay, and if I really zoom in on this area and now clip white, you can say it's clipping white there, it's clipping the out of range color. Okay, this pre-divide and post multiply checkbox will cause the image pixel values to be divided by the alpha values prior to the color correction. Okay, so for that I have a piece of footage here, the tomatoes, and it's matte. Okay, now I'll combine this matte into this image using a channel boolean. So add a channel boolean, set operation to copy, RGB to do nothing, and to alpha copy the lightness value of the foreground. So now if you look if you preview this channel Boolean 2, here we have the transparency. If you look at the alpha, we have the alpha channel, but transparency is not perfect there, not 0. Okay, it's not black. Okay, so now if I apply auto gain now or brightness contrast and I increase the gain, I preview that, it's gonna affect these transparent pixels as well. Okay, now if I check this pre-divide and post multiply button, what it will do, it will multiply, it will pre-divide the values so that okay, it will divide the values by the alpha channel so that we get here a clear alpha channel, and it's a pre-process. It will first apply this pre-divide operation, and then it will apply the color correction. So just turn it on, and now if you crank this gain, it's only affecting the color channel but not the alpha channel. So it's very powerful pre-divide post multiply. Okay, so in a nutshell, it's about the brightness and contrast tool.